and I'm always very candid about this, like we work with material innovation. We will get better in time. And I always compare our bags with the iPhone. Like the iPhone 1 was not the iPhone 16, right? Like didn't have the same features. Like you require time for research, for development, for investment. We fund the training of artisans in Mexico for them to be prepared.
Hi, and welcome to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast with your host, Emily Blumenthal, handbag industry expert and the handbag fairy godmother. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the handbags we love, from the iconic brands and top designers to the creativity, craftsmanship, and culture that define the handbag world. Whether you're a designer, collector, or simply passionate about handbags, this is your front row seat to it all. Welcome, Emen Suarez, to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast, with the brand From Sentient, as opposed to By Sentient, which is your website. You are from Sentient and from Mexico.
I almost feel like I'm by sentient by this point. You create a brand and then you live, breathe, eat, and everything that you do, and I'm sure you know this better than I do, it's almost like as if it were directly created or emanates directly from the brand. So yeah,
I know.
From Sentient, from Mexico. Yeah.
Fabulous. I mean, hey, if you're going to use a preposition, use from over anything. But welcome to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast. I am so excited to have you. You are one of our selected designers that will be at our ITBAG X New York Now at the trade show that's coming up from August 3rd through 5th in New York City at the Javits. When this airs, it may be before, it may be after, but regardless, if buyers are listening, they should find you. And if customers are looking, they should find you also. So good. That's my plug for you. I want to know, because I'm so excited that we're connected, are your bags made in Mexico?
So up until now, I would say about like 95% of our products have been made in Mexico. We have worked with Chinese factories in the past as well, who are also highly specialized. And I would say, in my experience, they are some of the most specialized and technologically advanced when it comes to next-gen materials. But yes, 95%. And what you'll see at New York Now is all made in Mexico. Mm-hmm.
So how did all of this come to be? Because as everybody has their story of how they ended up starting a handbag brand, it was really an accident / necessity / yearning / what am I doing? How did this happen to me?
It's a good mix of everything you just said. Everything. And it's a very eclectic story. I'm actually an environmental lawyer. And
there we go.
Not at all from the design world. Everything kind of started when I went vegan around 16 years ago. And I just started seeing that there were many problems to solve, quote unquote problems, because I feel like a lot of consumers didn't feel like the vegan space really marinated well with that aesthetic, beauty, and sense of desirability that the fashion industry sells. And that there was some sort of gap between beauty and ethos and mission-driven brands. And often, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but often mission-driven brands somehow sell themselves as like an NGO. It's much more about the mission than the actual product. And the beauty of that product that is inherent to fashion. So I guess when I went vegan as a consumer, I was like, oh, it's weird. It's missing swagger in a way. I don't know, like it's missing this element of pizzazz, like selling a mission, selling an ethos or a message. And after many years working as general counsel to different organizations, I mean, I was a lawyer in areas, that had to do with gender equality, reproductive rights, all the way from that to climate action, biodiversity protection, animal rights. And everything led me to say, I really want to do this. I want to try and see what it is to form a really strong and rich message curated within the language of the fashion industry. I do believe that fashion is definitely, and I'm not the only one who says it, I think it's common knowledge that fashion is one of the pillars of like modern society and of like one of the cultural pillars of modern society. even like political discussions are now being held within the fashion space. We saw Willy Chavarria's like Paris fashion show and how he discussed everything that's going on with the ice raids and everything through the beauty of fashion, through the lens of like creativity. So I think I wanted to take advantage of that and tell the world my message, what I wanted to sell and the problem that I wanted to fix. And the problem that I wanted to fix was leather goods, the leather goods industry, what it was to create a great vegan handbag that would be a symbol of innovation and a symbol of what the future holds, right? And what we are capable as humanity of creating in the present and where we can head. And that's why we create vegan fashion or vegan handbags with next gen materials, not like the conventional PU microfibers or even PVC, but with next gen materials, which is something complex. We can get into that. But yeah, that's how I got into it really. And the kind of extra nudge to forming this brand was studying my master's in law at Berkeley, in the midst of like this whole ecosystem of innovation and social entrepreneurship and this beautiful political bubble that really favored creating something with impact. So I came back to my country with obviously a load of debt that I couldn't get rid of for many years to come. And until I did, that's when I formed the brand. But I knew then that my path was as a startup founder, specifically in fashion, because of this passion I have for the arts and creativity. And that law was not really something for me. It just kind of led me there.
Listen, I would say your story is unique and different, but it's like everybody has this journey that takes them to what it was that got them there. And it's like, I started my handbag brand while I was in business school. Like, Kim stumbled upon an idea and then just ran with it. And, the interesting thing about getting a master's, other than you have to take a test to get into the school, which is a lot of training and studying. You have tons of extra homework that you're doing on purpose with the limited time that you've got. And it's forcing you to be very organized, very methodical, very responsible, very strategic. And then you come up with this idea for a handbag brand, which makes no sense. There's no training. There's no idea. It's like you just get this yearning and you got to get it out of you. Like, okay, I have this idea. I really should do this. And it's almost contrary to everything, to who you are as a trained, responsible human being who got a secondary degree. Like, okay, let me just find a factory. Let me just make a sample. Let me just dump a ton of money on making a sample. Okay, now I don't know what to do with this sample. Let me just talk to some people. Maybe I should maybe a store will want to buy it. And then you bring it to a store and they're like, I'm not buying this. You don't know what you're doing. What's a wholesale cost? What's a line sheet? What's this? What's your MOQ? Like, what's MOQ? Are you MOQ?
I went through that.
Yeah. I think it's this journey that really creates this community of handbag designers where it's like a bucket of, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, to I'm creating something and I know I'm not going to let it go because it serves a purpose. And to what you were saying about mission-driven brands, and I teach this, that you can't be a mission-driven brand if you don't have a brand to support it. You need to have a product that will sell in order for people to care about your damn mission. So don't go telling me that you're saving the world if I don't want to buy your product, because it's not going to do me any good and it's going to waste your time and mine. So especially with this new generation, with this new demographic who cares about transparency, will do the work, will do a deep dive on you, will even do you dirty if they find something they don't like. Having this kind of moral transparency is so important because that's part of your sellable tenets. That's part of your unique selling points, but it's not what you're selling. At the end of the day, you're selling a handbag that you want people to like, and you want people to come back and buy another one. That's it. That is the baseline of creating a product. What comes after is them loving you, loving your story, loving what you represent, loving all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, someone walks by and sees your bag in a boutique, they're walking by and they're going to buy it. Either they like it or they don't. So it's just a very, very difficult, I think, thing to grapple with as a new designer, especially someone who has no experience designing or creating. creating product when you're trained in like something totally that makes no sense whatsoever, other than the fact that I bet you can do a really good contract and you can check to see if your factory's doing the right thing.
That is so smart what you just said, because I think a lot of like mission-driven founders get it wrong. They really do believe, and that was especially true right after the pandemic.
And we all have to learn that. We have to learn that. That is not something, after the pandemic, everyone's coming out with like, I'm special, I'm unique, hear me roar. And it's like, girl, nobody cares. They just don't.
And I think that's so smart what you just said, because I got it wrong for a long time.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish this podcast had come like 3 years ago. They say it's never too late. So let's hope that's true. But I think the idea that your story will sell without a desirable product is something that, especially in today's world, is not true. And it's a false idea that you give people that want to create something, whether it's in fashion or in the food industry or in the tech industry, whatever it is. I do think that it is so important to level expectations when it comes to the worth of like the story. And that's really painful, because sometimes the story or the mission has to do with who we are and how we live and the values we live, that we breathe and eat, every day. But it's true that leveling expectations on how much the story matters in today's world is ever more important, because I really do think that no matter how much uproar there is against like fast fashion, like I walked by one of the biggest fast fashion shops in the world the other day, and it was full. You couldn't even walk inside of it. And it's desirability, it's convenience, it's being, on point with tendencies and what's the it style of the season or the year. And I think overcompensating your offer with a story is something I think if I could advise startup founders in any industry, but in the fashion industry specifically, because it's the one I know, I would say be careful, because there are a lot of mentors, a lot of books out there that say that
your story, you so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's key. And I've had to work on that a lot. And that's part of like the disappointment of the road, understanding that people, as you say, people don't really care as much as you think.
No. It's funny. I spoke to one designer recently who said that they were approached by a consultant, and I have it in quotes, who said, if you pay me $15,000, I will find you a factory. I'll work with you on product development. And you know what? Like the sun, moon, and stars that were promised to her. And the nutty thing is, not only did she not have that money, but she was considering trying to figure out how to find that money. And it's, the concept of being level-headed is out the window when you're creating something that you're passionate about. It's, like everything's thrown out the window. Like this logical, responsible person who has a very prestigious law degree, it's out the window because she meets someone who's like, I can change everything for you. Oh, okay. Sign me up.
Oh my God, I spent so many years and I've spent so much time thinking that somebody would come along and somehow save me or show me the path.
So much.
And all of a sudden create this wave of like abundance and prosperity with something that they did. And you come to the crude realization that no one is coming to save you. It's a process and it's a learning experience. I unfortunately fell for one of those consultants, not for that amount of money, but I did fall for a consultant that came from Italy to Mexico to give some lectures. And then he kind of overpromised a lot of things. He actually ghosted me once I paid him the...
Yep. I had that happen with a showroom. So again, it's a rite of passion where we meet these people who are deemed experts in something. And then we think it's the panacea, that they're the Jesus. They're one who's going to save me, save my brand. I'm going to go from nobody to somebody overnight, all on this person. And then you realize, oh my God, they've made a business of finding people like me. I'm the easiest target known to mankind. Who knew? And, the interesting thing is, going back to what you were saying about mission-driven brands, I think a lot of people tend to forget that if someone is shopping for a handbag, and if you're lucky enough to have them come to your site, the last place they're going to go is your about section. I look at it because I'm looking for the designer. I want to hear the story, but people are looking for the product. They're going to look at the price. Then they'll look at how it's made, what it's made. Does it align with everybody's core values? Then they're going to check if there's free shipping. And then if they're smart, they'll check the return policy. And then they'll go and check your about, because it's more about, I want the damn bag. And then maybe I'll find out about who made it and why. That's the hook. That's the 80-20, that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. That 20% will want to know you. 80% could care less.
If you ever wanted to start a handbag line and didn't know where to start, this is for you.
Living proof that independent designers can make it big.
Emily Blumenthal is one prime example.
If you had dreams of becoming a handbag designer and didn't know where to start, this is for you. If you have a handbag brand and are in need of strategy and direction, this is for you. I'm Emily Blumenthal, handbag fairy godmother and handbag designer expert, and this is Handbag Designer 101, the masterclass. Over the next 10 classes, I will break down everything you need to know how to make, market, and manufacture a handbag. Broken down for you that you'll not only skip steps in that handbag building process, but also save money in that learning curve. For the past 20 years, I've been teaching at the top fashion universities in New York City, created the Handbag Awards, and also the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. I'm going to show you like I have countless brands, from sketch to sample to shelf, whether you're just starting out and don't know where to begin, or even if you have a handbag line and just need some strategic direction, the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass is just for you. So let's get started, and you will be the creator of the next it bag. Join me, Emily Blumenthal, with the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass.
And I think a lot of like what we see on social media and like the success stories that we get to be part of just by reading like this, an Instagram post or a TikTok video, we think that somehow because people are able to succeed at a faster pace, that there's something wrong with us, but you can't skip the learning process. And sometimes like there are very few people that actually start a fashion company with a very clear aesthetic, with a very clear view of what they want, with a perfect product. Like, for example, and I'm always very candid about this, like we work with material innovation. We will get better in time. And I always compare our bags with the iPhone. Like the iPhone 1 was not the iPhone 16, right? Like didn't have the same features. Like you require time for research, for development, for investment. You know, we fund the training of artisans in Mexico for them to be prepared. These people are used to working with animal leather. They're not magicians. And skipping the fact that we have been producing with animal leather for thousands of years for different reasons, and the size of the leather goods market, and kind of like just brushing over that and thinking that you're going to bring in new materials and people will just adapt, is one part that the ecosystem is kind of missing. So like today I woke up and, you know, after I was having my coffee, I'm listening to podcasts of like intelligent women telling me not to check my phone when I wake up. But when you're a founder, you know, yeah, you get me.
Honestly, my biggest fantasy is to have an OOO email. Like day job people can do that. I've never been able to. That is like a big, hard dream of mine, to have an out of office email and to not need to check my email 24/7. Because honestly, when you run a business like this, it's all about
touch.
No.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I've spoken about this before, that the brands that are on the track or aspirational for prospective acquisition or prospective funding or like angel investment or co-foundership or anything, they need to not be the only person involved with the brand. And if it's just you, you are not desirable to anybody to acquire you, because your brand is then not a well-oiled machine that can copy and paste without you. If you need to be involved with every single step, then the time value of money of who you are to this brand, i.e. means you're not getting paid enough for your time. So it's a long, arduous process, especially with one that has incredible innovation like yours. And is working with local people, is working with artisans, is being socially responsible, that's giving back to the community. And it's difficult to make these choices to determine what kind of brand am I going to be? What am I comfortable with? What are my end goals? How much money am I willing to accept that I could potentially make? And what are the things that I will sacrifice to get my brand from point A to point B? And it's not easy, especially, again, going back to the fact that you have this great law degree that you worked so hard to get, that the logical you would probably tell the designer you that you're off your goddamn head.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I always tell people that when I went vegan 16 years ago, it kind of made me lose my mind, but it made me find my heart. And I know that sounds incredibly cheesy, but at least it allowed me to find like a true purpose, what I live by and what I want to do, from a deep sense of like not pointing the finger at people, but wanting to create something that can compete, that can be better, that can prove that there are other ways to do it. Right. So that became a sense of like purpose to me.
Right.
But I know that through that process, I lost my head, because none of this is rational. Like, this is not rational thinking, like the amount of sacrifice, investment, losses, heartbreak, God, like mental health problems that arise from.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's just, God, we can all relate. I mean, I can remember sitting in my old apartment surrounded by boxes that were not packed well enough. And I was printing out the labels and I ran out of tape, the clear plastic tape. And I just had I had a full blown breakdown. Like, oh my God, I don't have tape. How am I supposed to close the boxes? How am I supposed to ship the boxes? How am I I don't have tape. And, to get to that point of having bags made, to have boxes, to have labels, and it was the tape that literally pushed me over the edge. And I just kept thinking, I might as well put myself in the box and ship me off and see where I end up. It might be better than where I am at that moment. It's so challenging, especially with trying to even innovate. What are the materials that you are working on? Because historically, plant-based leathers are very, very tricky. They usually need some sort of, unfortunately, animal-based product, whether it's the glue, whether it's the fusing, because they're man-made. It's very difficult for them to guarantee the structure of the kind of product you're trying to make. So you kind of have to be open-minded once you find the material to determine, okay, what is this bag really going to look like? Because it might be different than what I've sketched.
And that is so common. Like, for example, I was sitting with a colleague of mine. She has her own agency and she helps me, we co-direct. We're the co-directors of like our campaigns, and we work together on creating content and marketing strategies. And she was behind our whole rebranding strategy. And she was like, you should really make a bag like this. And I'm like, no, that's animal suede. I need to find the right material. I need to do the right R&D. But at the top of my head, like now I can tell you it could take about a year or a year and a half to get that design. Like, for example, the bag that we have, like, I would say that's like our bestseller, like influencers, like magazines, and like
your hero bag.
Our hero bag is this one. I actually have it here. It's
and what's her name?
Raíz from
Roots.
Roots. Yes. I'm so glad you speak Spanish. It's going to make this conversation easier. This is an olive vegan leather. And I really wanted this flexible bag. I remember I went on my honeymoon, and as I was planning my honeymoon, I was thinking, I really want a large bag where I can fit stuff. And I love photography. I have my professional camera with me. And I just wanted a bag that didn't, that was very light, super flexible. But it took me time to discover the right material. And even within the next gen material company, Oleatex, they make the olive vegan leather. They're the only supplier and they're amazing. I love them. The different SKUs that they have, they don't all work for that design. You have to try them out. And that takes dollars. That takes a lot of time, resources. And I cannot even mention the tensions with the factory and the artisans.
I'm
because
sure.
They're not in my shoes. They're not vegans who went vegan and live by compassion to animals. And even the name of the brand speaks to the message that I'm trying to give the world, right? They're not there. So I also need to understand and make space for where they are. And as you said, like, you have to be very clean about your processes, because if you want to create a vegan bag, okay, so what kind of glue? And you already have a tension there with the factory because you're creating a problem for them. You're rewiring their way of thinking and doing things. So it's like, okay, so we have to find a new glue. Good God, woman. Okay, fine. What reinforcements are you using? Wait, that is upcycled leather. You know how, like, I don't know what the name is in English, but anyway, like this recycled leather and it's like the best reinforcement in the Mexican market. So to find other ones like recycled glass fiber or even microfiber, it took a long time. And it also depends geographically where you're at. You don't find the same suppliers. And I'm not saying that in a negative way against my country, but it's true. The advancements.
No, it is. The constraints, they exist. They just exist.
And not naming the constraints is actually detrimental to the effort that the factory and the artisans do and the work and the effort that I do.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're not Italy. We're not China. We don't have the supply chain that has been developed there for years through a whole industry and through a whole system that was dedicated to creating that supply chain. So finding those replacements is honestly something that can really make you and really push you to question, like, how capable am I to do this, to go ahead with this mission? And it's not something that has happened once. It happens every week.
I have one more question. Now, the fact is, when you are saying vegan leather, that is a blanket term that 9 times out of 10 refers to PU or polyurethane, or used to be known as PVC or polyvinyl chloride, which is a chemically made product in a factory. When you are referring to vegan leather, you are referring to something that's plant-based, made completely differently, made ethically. How do you grapple with trying to sell that without people thinking that you're one thing when you're absolutely not?
I think I've come to accept that it's going to take a long time for things to settle and for this information to be much more available and normalized almost. And I'll give you an example. I'm a big storyteller, so everything turns into an anecdote. I'll give you an anecdote. I was invited, I think it was last year, by this very prominent lawyer in Mexico who will remain nameless, by the way.
As you do.
And he's concerned about sustainability and environmental issues. And at the table was a local handbag brand that works with animal leather. The breakfast turned into almost like, I don't know, it turned into like this big accusatory process where he was just pointing fingers at me saying, what you work with is plastic. You guys are tricking the world. A cactus vegan leather. It's bullshit. I'm sorry for my French, but it's just plastic, and I didn't really respond too much there, because you also have to choose your battles and know when and how to address these concerns and who will actually receive the message, because a lot of people aren't ready to receive the message. But one thing that came to mind is that a lot of the brands that are trying to do better, like genuinely better, and use innovation, we all know that we are at the very dawn of things, of the material innovation economy. Like, this is just the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, and it truly, like, when I get invited to speak at events or in conferences, I say, you do remember what that Steve Jobs picture with that initial computer looked like. It doesn't look like the laptop that you have in front of you, right? Like, it doesn't. It's going to take time. But we do have to acknowledge progress, right? So all the leathers, 100% plastic free, they're not. And sometimes when they're 100% plastic free, there is a real challenge to keep manufacturing going and to keep the material at a level that it can scale and actually, supply the amount of manufacturers and brands that are out there that are trying to do something about the material that they use. So I think I'm trying to be very patient and address this from a place that I don't sound like a preacher, because I think also people get tired about that. As we said, like, the story has to come in bits and pieces and it has to come in the right way. And I want the product to speak for itself. Like, I know that this, like, I'm not the first one to create a flexible bag. Like, the last year's 8 bag was a Brooklyn, right? But like, I tried to, like, by creating this bag, what I was trying to do is there's a way that we can reach that result. We can do that. We can create that handbag with just enough, like, research and really committed to that durability, to that quality. We can get there, but it takes time.
Oh my God. I am so excited to see you and your bags in person shortly, August 3rd through 5th at the Javits. Jimena, how can we find you, follow you, shop your beautiful bags?
Please visit our website. It's 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸_sentient.com, and you'll find 2 of our permanent collections there, the Panthera collection and the Semida collection. And they actually both are very mission driven. We have collaborations with 2 organizations, one in Mexico and one in the US. Other than that, you can visit us on TikTok as well, 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸_sentient, or Instagram 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸𝐵𝐸_sentient. Just DM us, give us your thoughts, follow us, just be part of the community. We appreciate that.
And how do you spell sentient, just in case?
Good question. Sentient spells out like sentient being, SENTIENT, sentient.
Perfect. And it's 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸_sentient, EY.
Yeah, our
the top.
URL. Yeah, it's 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸𝐵𝐸_sentient, 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸𝐵𝑠entient.com, and our TikTok and Instagram accounts are 𝐉𝐸𝐵𝐸𝑠entient as well.
Oh my God, go you with TikTok. That's another conversation. Oh my God. Absolutely. And for those of you who can see, Jimena is laughing because she just gets it. It's just all so much.
The demand for content is just so much. It's heavy.
It's too much. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, for taking the time to, hear the stories of designers. You yourself are, an expert at the matter of like how difficult and challenging this can get, but how beautiful the work is. So thank you. Thank you for you.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review and follow us on every single platform at Handbag Designer. Thanks so much. See you next time.